Howdy folks, I'm the Roleplay Gamer and I like to party, so I am back home safe and sound from day one of PAX. I'm going to give you a very quick recap of what I saw, and by very quick, you know I have a tendency to ramble, but I'll try to keep that to a minimum. So first thing, I got in, of course, an hour before the general public using my fancy media pass. I gotta say, that isn't entirely worth it because about half of the booths weren't properly set up, which isn't a problem in and of itself. It's more the fact that because they're still in the process of setting up, they haven't got time to talk to the press. At least that's the impression I got. So that's a real shame. But I did use that time to get in line at the Bethesda booth. I say booth, but it was really just a giant fuck-off cube in the middle of the room. It was definitely making me feel inadequate. It was so big. And of course I got straight in because no one else was there. It was just the press, and at 9:30 they took us in to, show their presentation, and I was disappointed, I suppose. I mean, I shouldn't have expected any more. There is definitely a feeling I'm getting that some, especially the bigger developers / publishers, are like, it's only Australia, let's either not go or not give them much. We'll just have like a token set up. But basically, we get into the Bethesda, cube. And there's sort of a waiting ante-room thing where it's like, oh shit, what are they going to do? They're going to take us in behind closed doors and it's going to be really cool. They just took us in. This guy who wasn't very articulate. I mean, look, he did the best he could, I feel. He's just probably not very well informed, I think, and perhaps a little underprepared, and I think maybe a little bit wary that he wasn't really showing us much. There was absolutely no new footage that I saw. It was all from trailers that have been recently released, and he was just reiterating pretty much all the stuff we already know. I mean, there's definitely a greater focus on he went on about how the Bethesda game studio, the actual studio who were making the game and who made Skyrim and whatnot, they're obsessed with detail, which sort of sheds a little bit of light on why there are so many useless objects in Bethesda games. But this time around, they're stressing that everything has a use, or rather, he corrected himself. He said almost everything has a use. All right. So I mean, that's what we already knew. You use the shit stuff on the ground for crafting. So he said, from the get-go, all the junk you find isn't junk because it's actually going to be useful later on for crafting. So yeah, I mean, that was a bit disappointing. It was cool to be in there as press and like, all right, so I didn't have to wait in line because seriously, guys, as soon as everyone came in, it was a big fuck-off cube, right? In the middle of the place, and people were spiraled around it in a queue almost twice over. People were double parked around this thing. It was fucked. On the one hand, it's like, yeah, I'm glad I got in, when I did. But on the other hand, it's like, shit, I'm sorry that I wasted half of my press time on that. They showed a little bit of Doom as well with really no more... Oh, no. The more information they did give that I wasn't aware of, at least, is there's going to be a level editor. I think I'm not really that interested in Doom, but I mean, it looks pretty interesting and gory and very fast paced. So, they're very much into... I don't know. It's multiplayer, right? That's sort of what they were showcasing, I guess. I don't know about Doom. I don't think I'll play it. I might. Who knows? But I suppose the only other interesting thing that they did say... Is that a dog? Will you shut it? The only other interesting thing they did say about Fallout, which is sort of what we knew already, they're tightening up the FPS controls on Fallout 4, which I certainly appreciate. But what they elaborated on concerning that was with id Software, sort of being part of the team now because of Doom. Before they started work on Fallout 4, they went over to the id guys and said, yo, dog, we want solid FPS mechanics, so can you give us some tips? And they used that advice to rebuild the FPS mechanics of Fallout 4 from the ground up, which I suppose that was a nice little insight as to how they did it. That actually gives me a little bit more faith that it's going to feel really nice, and it's not just a token, oh, well, we tried a little harder this time. It's like they've gone to people who know what they're doing, presumably, and they've really tightened up those FPS controls. So that's really cool. Full that aside, there's really not a lot going on. I found the most interesting part of the whole thing was really the indies. There was Ubisoft had a presence, or Ubisoft, I don't know how to pronounce it. Ubisoft had a presence there. I just wanted to see, Anno, the next Anno, which is coming out in like less than a week. It's coming out next week. Early next week, but no, it's just all, look at the next fucking installment of Assassin's Creed. Fuck that, man. I'm sick of Assassin's Creed. Give me the good stuff. Give me Anno, like 2205 or whatever it's called. Just Cause was playable. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play it, but I will endeavor to try and get my hands on it. But more importantly, because I'm just a one man, like if I had someone else handling the camera, that might be easy. But I might just scurry over there and ask one of the sweaty nerds if they mind me filming their gameplay. Because at least then you can get an idea of what it looks like, even though it's going to be sort of like secondhand recording a screen. I can confirm it looks fantastic. I don't know what they're running it on, because it's one of those things where it's just a screen and a controller coming out of the wall. I'm not sure if they had mouse and keyboard there as well. I'm a little bit blank, all the colors and whatnot. But yeah, it is playable, does look fantastic. So I'm kind of excited for that. There was a bit of Star Wars stuff. As you can see, there's R2-D2 hanging around. It was pretty cool. Otherwise, Far Cry Primal, which I hadn't actually heard of before. So I don't know when this thing was announced. No one was talking about it. It was just a big old poster and a video playing on a screen above it, a small screen, with interviews and a little bit of like concept art and I think a touch of gameplay footage, but I might be smoking something there. But of course, it was not audible either, because they didn't have speakers connected, which I think is the case, or just the room was so goddamn loud. But it looks really interesting. This could be a Far Cry that I could get into, where the point is you don't actually. I did note that they made a point of saying you don't buy weapons or something like that. You craft everything. So it looks like it's a bit of a set in prehistory kind of thing, which actually seems like my kind of thing. That's awesome. Otherwise, the only other thing that... hang on. No, I did play around with the indies a little bit, though. I tried to avoid them for the most part because they're the majority of my interviews on Saturday and Sunday. So I didn't want to get in there and sort of well... Now I know everything, so what am I going to say in the interview? But I did play a little bit of Super Mutant Assault. Hang on, what's it called? Let me have a look here. Because I actually got a whole bunch of games from these guys. Whole big old lot of games. Oh shit, there's a lot here. Oh, Dungeon League too. Okay, that could be interesting. Rogue Continuum, no idea. Screen cheat. There we go. Super Mutant Alien Assault. That's the one. I actually played a little bit of that. I'd seen a little bit of it before on Northern Lions channel, and it looks really interesting. It plays nice. It's a roguelike of sorts. It's you got your permadeath. When you die, you have to start again, and it's ever changing. There's not you can't stick with any one gun at a time. But I won't go too much into it because I would actually like to do a video on it. I did get code for that, but I actually got to talk to the creator while I was playing, which was pretty cool. I don't know how the audio turned out on that. I did try to record it with my portable audio recorder, so we'll see if it's if it's acceptable. Then you'll find that in a video at some point soon. But yeah, other than that, I didn't really hang around the indies too much, like I said, because I want to save myself for the interviews. So the only other thing that really excited me was some of the hardware, getting to actually, touch some of the keyboards, because shopping for computer peripherals is a nightmare. While I go a little bit Christopher Walken there on you for a second, it's a nightmare sometimes, because it's like, okay, well, this has got good reviews, but how does it feel? I don't know. You can't go into a shop. I don't know what it's like in America or Europe, but in Australia, you maybe 1% chance that someone in the store will be like, yeah, okay, I understand you want to touch it. Here's one. I'll open the box for you. Just be careful, you know? Don't break it. Most of the time, they're like, nah, we can't open the box because we got to sell it. Don't be a dick, you know? Don't be an idiot. So you can't even touch these keyboards that are meant to, like, when you buy a mechanical keyboard, it's all about the feel of it, right? That's why you're buying mechanical. So it totally makes sense to be able to touch it. So I got to touch pretty much everything Logitech has on offer. I was a little bit disappointed that, well, I mean, I don't know what I expected, but, you know, there's nothing new from Logitech, aside from, you know, the G910 or whatever it's called. I mean, I've got it right in front of me here, so I should know. You know, the Orion Spark, their mechanical thing. I did get to talk to one of the guys at the Logitech booth, and that was actually pretty interesting. I was asking him about the joystick, the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, because I had a feel of it. Actually felt really nice. I'd never touched one before. I've got the Attack 3 on my desk right in front of me here. It's fantastic. It's lasted like, geez, I think I've almost had it 10 years at this point, almost. And yeah, it's got a little bit of play, and as you would have seen from my Elite Dangerous videos, it doesn't stay centered, but I mean, it's certainly not unusable as a result, but I would like a new one if I can get, you know, one for a good price. So, you know, I had to play around with the Extreme 3D Pro, and I was surprised. It felt really nice, and more so, I actually didn't know that thing had a twist rudder control. I thought it was, you know, untwistable like my Attack 3. So that actually got me thinking, hell, maybe I want to get one of these ones because they're not ridiculously priced. Depending where you go. So we started talking about joysticks, and he's saying, you know, they don't actually stock them. You know, the impression he gave me was that Logitech themselves don't stock their own joysticks. They still make them, but they don't stock them. They order them in whenever someone buys one, which just blew my mind. I was like, but dude, space simulators are coming back. Elite Dangerous and whatnot, you know? It's like, they don't sell. They do not move, which is wild. And that's, you know, just goes to show, like, it's a bitch to find a good joystick in Australia. You know, price aside, because of course you can add $100 on every bit of, you know, joystick in Australia. Even if you don't have to order it in. It's quite ridiculous. But just like half of what you can get, half of what is available in Europe and the US is just not available here. You would have to buy it from the US, you know, and have it shipped over, which starts to get a little bit ridiculous. And this guy, he was pretty funny. He's like, yeah, man, I'm like totally into Star Citizen. When Star Citizen comes out, he was a Mac user. He said, when Star Citizen comes out, I'm getting a PC just for Star Citizen, and I'm using this Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick. Oh, dude, kids, what are you gonna do? But you know, they're little. I think it's the G310. It's pretty much like the Orion Spark that I've got here in front of me, but it's 10 keyless, as they say. It's, you know, it hasn't got the numpad, and it's not RGB. Now, he said that once that is released, they're probably going to work on an RGB version of it. I think it's adorable. It's pretty much, you know, the Orion Spark. It feels almost identical. I'm not sure about the wrist rest and whatnot, because, you know, it's compact. It's meant to be carried around, and it's great. It's small. It's light. I kind of want one. I mean, I don't really have any use for it, beyond the fact that, I mean, this is like first world problems, you know. When I got my joystick next to my keyboard is quite, you know, wide. It's not ridiculously so, but it's quite wide. So my hands are quite spread apart in an uncomfortable way. With this little 10 keyless, I think that's the right term. You know, that would be a lot more comfortable. So, but I feel like it's probably more appropriate for, I mean, people who just never use a numpad, or for travel. It looks like a great little travel keyboard. But yeah, that was really it. I mean, I of course will be going back for Saturday and Sunday for the interviews that I have scheduled, but I'll also try and harass people a little more, and you know, and get some more footage. That's something that I didn't do enough of today. My knee sort of gave out at one point, so I'm like, no, I gotta go home. But yeah, there's not a hell of a lot. So I'm not sure what PAX in the US is like, but over here, it's not something that, like, if you're not a member of the press, it's not really something you need to go 2 for 3 days, I think, unless maybe the schedule and the panels is something you really want to do. I'm not necessarily into that. I might have to look over the schedule because they do have some interesting stuff going occasionally. It's just like, it sort of sprung up on me. It's like, oh, there's a guy on some loudspeaker. It's like, hey, now we're going to do this giveaway. I'm like, oh shit, I'm halfway across the room and I missed it. Wargaming or something like that. I'll look into that a little bit more tomorrow, but they had a really big presence and they were doing some nutty things. Origin, which are custom PC builders. I didn't even really know what they did, but basically they will build you any kind of tower that you want. Like literally, not just case mods and shit. They were showcasing. Well, the guy I talked to, he was great. He was really friendly and informative. He was showing off this thing that they had right there, and basically, the point of it is, it's a ridiculous big tower. It's huge. It can take like a ridiculous amount of hard drives. I can't remember. It was was it 16 or 32? Something just obscene. Like more hard drives than you would ever need. But the point was that you can put any piece of hardware into it and it will work. The example he gave was, you could pull out those big, dirty graphics cards, plug in a really old one, and it will work. Guaranteed. That was the point of that PC, and I thought, that's wild, man. They also come in wooden crates, apparently, that you have to pry open when they send them to your house. So that was wild. I'm not sure I'll ever use them, but it was certainly interesting and pretty cool that they exist. Yeah, that's the long and the short of it, really, and it sort of turned out to be the long of it more than anything. So I will be doing one of these for every day of PAX. I don't know how long or short they're going to be. Depends on what I find out. But yeah, for tomorrow, I will be looking at the Wargaming booth. It's huge. It's probably bigger than Bethesda's. No, it's probably about as big as Bethesda's ridiculous cube of death. It's just more open. I'll try and find out what the hell Alienware's about. Not that I'm necessarily a fan of them. Like, there's the enticement of Alienware. It's like, ooh, look, we have sexy hardware and it's overpriced. But they got like this upstairs area and I don't know what that's about. So I don't know. Otherwise, indies, I'm just going to look more at the indies. I did talk to a few of them, but more so on Sunday. That's when most of my interviews are, and hopefully I'll have some proper interviews recorded. Maybe not necessarily on camera, but audio for sure. Like I said, I'm just one man, and it's kind of tricky to carry around a big old tripod with me and whatnot, and there's really not a lot of room, especially in the indie area. I do not envy anyone trying to tripod around the PAX Rising indie section that's right next to the rank ass quote unquote cafe that they've set up that smells like fish. But yeah, I'll try to get also more photos and general footage. It seems pretty open as to what I can record, which seems counterintuitive. It's like, hey, don't record our booth. No, but you can. Anyway, I'm going to stop going on. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more PAX coverage. I'm the Roleplay Gamer. Taste the game. Be excellent to each other, and I'll see you next time. Roleplay Gamer out.